Let's see. Awesome. I think we're live. Yes, we are live. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton-Sehon with Swiftfire International True TV, actual True TV. I'm really excited today because I have the one and only Patriot Streetfighter, Scott McKay, with us. And we're just going to catch up a little bit about stuff in Vegas, where we are, what he's doing. But before we get started, Scott, I would love to hear and let some of my people in the audience hear a little bit about you personally, because you interview so many people and you're always on about the news, what's going on, and keep everybody so updated. Mm-hmm. But what's your story? Like, how did you even get to this spot of where you are right now? Oh, sound. Okay, here we go. No, not yet. It was here a second ago.
How's that?
Yay! All right, we got you.
My bad. I moved this and I hit the mute button. So awesome. Sorry.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard it. I heard everything you had to say. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, you were asking me what, how to get to be here, and I said I have no idea. This, I guess you would call it a meteoric rise of Patriot Streetfighter, which was accidental. None of this was planned. I did this live stream. I've been doing a radio show a little over a year on Revolution Radio called The Tipping Point. I created that show, and I created that show because I got really sick of I guess sitting on the sidelines after a long sabbatical. I came up through sort of the elective politics, 1990 to 06. When I was running campaigns. I actually managed one state assembly race in California. I'd worked Bush campaigns, both of those in 2000 and 04. I was a precinct captain in Los Angeles. I served on the Central Committee there as a treasurer, doing all these things over the years, and a lot of the grunt work right to the bottom, building teams to help my candidate, whatever. But that was ways going to serve my country. I was recruited for naval aviation right out of retirement from my competitive bodybuilding career. I gave that all up one day to become a naval aviator, marine aviator, whichever of those that would work for me. But anyways, the massive cutbacks under Bush 1 from the Reagan buildup, Cheney was killing programs, and aviation was a big one that they hit hard. So my dream became a casualty. So then politics became the way that I thought I would serve. And then once I realized that the machine is completely corrupt, that these people are, half of them are criminals, if not more of them today, vast majority of these politicians are criminals in DC. Walked away in 06 completely, turned down an offer for a business guy to raise millions to run for a congressional seat in California, which again was what I'd worked for forever, but I just said I'm not interested. And he couldn't figure that out. And he said, "What the hell do you mean? Everybody knows you're working to get to Washington." I said, "Yeah, but on my terms only." He said, "What are they?" And I said, "I'll never set foot in that beltway until I create enough wealth so no man owns me, because they're gonna run me out of town fast." So and then 2015 came around. 06 I walked away completely. 2015 came around, and there's Trump make his announcement speech that night. And I saw it just by chance, by accident. Within 5 minutes, I was texting friends around the country, turn the TV on fast. Can't miss this. This is the Republican nominee and a landslide president. Got active on Facebook right away. Big mistake. I got hammered for 18 months, but I never let off my foot off the gas. I kept the throttle wide open. I tried to help, and people were attacking me were Republicans, mind you, but they loved Ted Cruz. I was a Ted Cruz fan too, but I knew he could never do what Donald Trump could do. And then Trump won, and then I went away. I didn't gloat. I didn't, hammer everybody that said all this stupid shit that they were saying. I just disappeared. Trump's in there. And then I discovered the military intelligence dissemination operation pretty early on, started to follow it the whole way through. A lot of research, understood what the plan was about. And right after the election, I had a friend of mine, Jim Bothell, said, "Hey, My friends over here in South Carolina really would like to know what's going on, because they're scared to death because, Biden won. So I did a Zoom for his group of friends at a barbecue on a Sunday night. And we put the link out to a bunch of people. There was probably 40 or 50 other computers, links that were on there, and they were watching. And I put it up on my YouTube channel, which all year I would put the radio shows up after I'd get the audio, make a video, put them up. They might get 1,000 views. Some got a couple thousand, which to me, when I eventually hit 1,000, like 8 months later, I'm like, wow, there's 1,000 views on this. So I put that up. It got 16,000 views in 4 days, and I was stunned. But in the meantime, I had already scheduled to do another update on 4 days later on a Thursday night on the 12th of November. And I just did that live stream right to my YouTube channel, figured out how to make that work. It was an experiment, actually, to see if it would actually work. That video was about 50 minutes long, laying out the whole thing, the Trump military presidency, the operation, here's what's going down, etc. And it went nuclear. And 344,000 views in about 13 days or 12 days, something like that. YouTube nuked it, hit me with a strike or whatever, and it never stopped. People had already grabbed it. It was too late. It got millions of views. And then one day, Lynn Wood, 2 months later, grabbed that same video in January, found it on somebody else's channel, and put it up on Parler. And it got 4 million views over the next 48 hours. So this whole thing just kind of thrust me out there in the middle of, this scene. And it's still quite stunning to me. But I think what's endearing about all of it is all I did was go kick a hornet's nest full of Patriot Streetfighters, and they came out swinging, flying, buzzing, stinging everything in sight. They're pissed off. They're like, he's right. I'm just I'm a conduit to their thoughts. Their consciousness, I think, is plugged right into me. And whatever day I feel like saying what has to be said, whether people like to hear it or not, they've learned from me, I don't give a shit at all. Like what somebody's viewpoint is, if they come back and disagree. This is America. Everybody's allowed to have their own opinion. You're allowed to be wrong. It's America. So I'm going to give my 30-year perspective. I've been at this a long time. Somebody doesn't like to hear it, turn the channel off, leave, go elsewhere. I don't care. I'm too busy trying to save the country, too busy trying to save the kids that are being satanically raped. They're abused, tortured, gutted, brutally sodomized, bloodletted for adrenochrome, and by the tune of 800,000 kids missing a year. I don't care about anything else. Whatever people's opinions are, get them on YouTube, get your own channel, join the war or get out of the way, because we have a lot of kids to rescue. Because I took that attitude, I'm the guy that doesn't like to offend anybody. But I realized sitting back my whole life, not offending somebody, look at the don't offend anybody culture. Now, go fork yourself, get off the road. We're going after the kids. Either you're with us or you're not. Just get out of the way. And since I started taking that attitude, because the kids are more important than somebody's sensitive, their sensitivities, then we're getting somewhere. And I'm realizing that so many people, I got pastors that are actually saying, hold the fork in line, right? And it's telling me that, we're onto something. And that something is that America is still alive and it's full of fire. People have to be taught it is okay to get in the fight, period. Get in the fight. And this bullshit, this PC bullshit, everybody's worried about what somebody will think. We got this disgraceful Galveston cop putting a 65-year-old lady on the floor in a Bank of America. She has no mask on. I'm calling him a fork and milquetoast pussy, a disgrace to the badge itself. And you know what? I was concerned about maybe I went too far. People like, hell no. This is the problem in the country. That bullshit is allowed to go on. People will stand around and watch it. Nobody will step in. They don't have to help and put up some type of physical offense on the cop, but at least surround them in a circle and start screaming your heads off at them like, the hell's wrong with you, right? People have to stand up and fight. America was founded by fighters, by people who weren't politically correct, people who are highly educated, very intelligent, highly liberal educations in history and the arts and philosophy, and they were also set at the doorstep of tyranny, like right up close. And you know what? They didn't give a shit. They said, here's the deal. We're going to free the country. The 97% of you in America who don't want to do anything and want to stay loyal to the crown, go ahead. But we in the 3% that'll fight, we're taking the country and taking it to freedom. So you're welcome. That's kind of where we are today. There's probably less than 3% of us out there in the country. I know there's a hell of a lot less. But once we get about 3% of the nation off its ass, off the couch, and get their, their battle gear on and say, we're taking down the forking political scumbags and all the other PC people, we're going to get our country back. That's, anyways, there's my monologue. You got to step in sometimes, give me the hook.
I agree. And I didn't know that it was so recent. I mean, I'm one of those people that found your video in the middle of the night going through all the stuff. And I didn't even know that was kind of a beginning stage. I just assumed you had been doing this, live stuff for a long, long time. So that's news to me. Interesting. So we were in Vegas and we got to meet up, and you had quite an interesting, fun time there too, with even like the whole cop thing. Like you were talking about this lady in Texas. You stood your ground. I watched you like I was going to do anything, but we stood around a little bit and tried to, give them a little bit of hell, and you got your way, and that was interesting. And since then, quite a few things have happened, and where do you see we are now? Like, what's happening? What are you hearing? What's going on? I know you've had several interviews since Vegas and our time there, but where are we?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think, and I think there's a myriad of answers on what's really happening right now. There's a lot of speculation on dates and times and things that are happening. I think the fact that, I've been unwilling to settle on a date or a time frame. I've been relatively protected, from making a call, and it turned out to be totally wrong. But I will say I talked to Juan O'Savin about a week ago, and it was one of those late night calls. He burns a candle at both ends, and he starts on the outsides of the wick too and goes inward. He just never stops. And so we talked it was about 2 a.m. We were talking for 90 minutes one night. And, Juan takes a long way around to get to the point. All right. It takes forever to get to the point. But I think there's a reason for that, because he's got to build the landscape so you understand how big this battlefield is, how many moving parts there are to it. And that, as we know, nothing is set in stone, because this is an evolving plan, meaning there are many directions it can go in, but there's one strategic outcome, and it's the one we're looking for. So it's fluid, it's organic, it's a chess game. The other side still has power to do things and create some chaos. The things that really matter, as I said before, who's in control here? People ask who's in control. And my answer is always the easy one: the person who has the guns, period. I don't care what else is going on in any situation. Whoever has the guns, ultimately, they're in control, right? So you see Biden doesn't have the keys to Air Force One. He doesn't have the keys to the White House. He doesn't have the keys to the beast. So what's really going on? What's really going on when you see him walk up to, quote unquote, some reporters, and these microphones, fuzzy microphones, come out into the screen, because whoever's filming it is back here. Biden walks up, well, whatever that is, it's an actor, it's an AI clone, whatever it is, it's not Biden. I've been telling people that for 3 years. That isn't Joe Biden. I've been following this idiot for decades. First thing I remember of him being the moron that he is he's thrown off the Senate Intelligence Committee as a chairman of the governing party in the Senate, thrown off the committee, not rebuked, not censured, not demoted, thrown off as the chairman for leaking highly classified intel to the press because he's a big shot. It's how stupid a guy is. I mean, the Obama team put the guy in a closet during the first campaign because he's such an idiot. Put him in a closet, kept him there for like the remainder of the campaign. So now we have this thing marked. So when I'm watching this guy, Biden, his arrogance, I didn't know what a criminal he was, the degree, but now they march him out. 3 years ago plus 4 years ago. I'm like, that isn't Biden. I don't know who that is, but it isn't Biden. It's a clone or something, but it's not Biden. So what's going on here? What's going on when he puts his hands forward toward the camera and it actually shadows out or blocks out the microphone that he's nowhere near? It's like there's CGI. You see all this crazy stuff. He rolls up in a couple of beat up SUVs with secrets. It's all, and they're dirty. Secret Service gets out and they're in jeans and like loafers or some shit like that. He's getting on a smoker. That plane that they rolled out reminds me of Dennis Hopper in Waterworld. They had the smoker in the water, right? So they turn the engines on this thing and the smoker blows out some black smoke out the engines. He mounts the thing from the cargo door in the back. There's a stairway out, all these things. And you have to say, what in the hell is going on here? Well, that's a good question. What's going on? All I can tell you what's going on, it is not a Biden presidency. That I can assure you. So anyways, with that being said, I believe they're playing out. They have the enemy's playbook. They intercepted it probably a decade ago, the 16-year plan to bring down America. And they stopped it at the critical moment. Obama had 8 years to destroy the nation, which he did. It was all set up. We were already over a cliff. Hillary, they brought her in second because she's incapable of being anything other than what she is. How do you lose a rigged election? Like Hillary, Chelsea Clinton, there's a meme out there. Chelsea's beside her mom. It says, my mom is so stupid. She actually lost a rigged election, which she did in 2016. So Hillary was mop up. Hillary was the one that was going to come in with her finger on the trigger. And they were going to create a nuclear event in the U.S. With the uranium that they sold to Putin and skimmed off of it, dropped 3 planes into Syria, North Korea, and Iran, where the clowns in America built a nuclear weapon to drop in the U.S., detonate it, so we could trace the signature back to the Putin stockpile that Hillary and the other traitors, Robert Mueller and company, sold to Putin in an act of treason. And say Putin did it, which he didn't, and then launch a retaliatory strike, thermonuclear strike, to kick off the big planetary herd thinning. That was the plan. But again, they stopped it. So now what they're doing is if I would have shared this information 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, that was a plan, nobody on earth would listen to this channel. Nobody would ever show up to any channel, anywhere that I said anything, right? Because people are dead from the eyes back at this point in society. They can't assimilate information. They don't believe anything, too lazy to research, have no discernment of what's fact or fiction. Therefore, what does the alliance powers have to do? They got to wake the world up, because what they're about to learn is going to put 98% of the people in a mental institution. Truly. Like, I don't mean maybe. When they're about to learn what this world really is, what it's about, what's been going on behind the wall that they can't see. And on top of that, have them be prepared for what's about to happen, which is the ass kicking on the planet of Satan himself. We can't have people like the Walking Dead left screaming, pouring into the streets that they're taking over the world. We got to stop them, when they're actually trying to bring down Satan and all his minions and free the world. You can't have that. So because too many people get hurt, innocent people including. So they've got to play this thing out by the script with a governor on it, making the left force them to carry out their part of the plan in real time. And so people can see it until they finally get like, oh my God, look what these people are doing, till they wake up. Till enough people wake up, then they say, okay, they're ready. Let's go do what we got to do to bring it down, and they'll support us. And we finally undo this nightmare that we lived, that most people are blind to. So that's what I see happening right now.
Well,
Sorry about that. Shut that off. Sorry, that never stops. I should know enough to turn that thing off.
it's not me this time. So, but yes, but even with the border situation and them completely denying the fact that there's a crisis at all, with 565 kids mostly coming across daily, and they're not letting in the media to see anything. And when the numbers were half, less than half, actually, years ago, it was a crisis. But now that there's more than double, not only are they not letting anybody see, nothing to see, nothing to see, nothing to see, but it's not even a crisis. Like, this is like, I get the whole point of like, let everyone see how bad it is, canceling Dr. Seuss, canceling Chris Harrison, cancel, all the things that are it's just mind blowing, honestly, how there's literally still people who don't see. I don't know if you're running into that at all, but I'm still running into that at times, and I'm just like, what is it going to take? Like, seriously, what do you say when you run into people like that, or are you even seeing that? Maybe you're not seeing that.
No, it's everywhere. I mean, I seem to spend a lot of my time here, where I'm not actively out in the public, engaging people, but I see these people walking around with masks on. I mean, I don't really have a desire to talk to them. It's astonishing to me in Texas, they brought it down. They brought down the mask mandate. It hasn't moved a needle hardly at all.
I know.
It blows my mind. Like, these people are absolutely brain dead. And I was thinking this, I saw this somewhere else, but the sheep spend a lifetime being taught to fear the wolf. And at the end of it all, it's the shepherd who eats them. Right. And here we are. The sheep, again, are being taught to fear the wolf. And it's their shepherds who are eventually going to bring them down. But I do not know, have no clue how you reach these people, honestly. I mean, they're everywhere. They're all over the place. I mean, it might be one thing people put the mask on to go along to get along. And I think if anything that my listeners have brought to this battlefield is they're people that are unwilling to be told what to do by an illegal entity, which is the political class and all the scumbags associated with it, right down to the mayors and, the corrupt police commissioners, people who are condoning this behavior. These people refuse to walk into tyranny. And there are those who needed a little bit of courage to say, fork this. I'm done. I'm not wearing any mask in these stores. Let somebody come up and give me a hard time or tell me where's my mask. Keep on walking. Got a national medical. What does that mean? Have no idea. That's about as logical as you need a mask on. So I say I got a national medical. Both of them are irrelevant statements, right? So I match the IQ level, and I keep on walking. So it's
it's crazy though. I just did a couple things. I went cross country. After we got back from Vegas, I made a trip across country from Louisiana to Seattle, and I'm a naturopath and a truther, and do all these shows. But I also work in with animals and shelters. I work at a couple shelters. So we were bringing a dog up there all the way across. First of all, I never wore a mask the whole time going. Any gas station, restaurant, hotels, didn't do it. No, and hadn't the whole time I've been doing this, like you. But the whole way up there and back, there was Trump signs, Trump flags everywhere across the country. I mean, everywhere. Not a single other grandpa earpiece sign or flag to be found. Not even one. Not even like nothing. And I know you say 3%, but that was a little bit interesting to see. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands, of flags, signs, yard signs, big things across like trailers, homes, billboards. I mean, it was like nothing ever happened in some ways, as far as those visuals. And then too, when we on our way through Texas, there was still a mask thing, but it was lifted by the time that we came back. Mm-hmm. And just that little period of time for a couple days when we were there on the way back, we actually walked around and people weren't wearing them. Not at the gas stations, not at the restaurants. One hotel, the people behind the desk who were working there were, but the other places, people that were working there were actually not. But then all of a sudden, something happened and it went back. And I don't know what that thing is, but it is. I don't, Florida is the same. The governor's never had a mask thing, but there's different places where I literally have seen people on the beach, fishing, swimming, like one guy on a bridge by himself, double masked, fishing off of this bridge and outside with no one around, so it's just like a little bit crazy. But in Louisiana the other day, I went to an appointment, and I swear to God, I'm not even kidding you. This lady not only had on 2 masks, but she had on a white coat, gloves, the screen deal coming down, and she had tongs in her hand to touch shit. And I was, and this is a medical person who I thought was actually had some brains, and someone that I've known for a long time that I
the person actually, with the tongs actually is in the medical field.
Yes, and she was using it to pick up a pen to give to me to sign and push buttons and try to open the door. And I literally felt like I was in some sort of Saturday Night Live skit where I was being punked, and Ashton Kutcher was gonna come jumping out any minute and go, "Got you!" But to be honest, as startling and shocking as it was, when I went in the room by myself for a second, instead of feeling whatever I was feeling, the instant feeling that came to me was grief. Like, I'm about to cry right now. It was so sad because I was like, this is where we are. And what I'm really wondering is, with AI already being in some of these vaccines, and I'm going to use code, and with the chemtrails and whatever, maybe there's a certain percentage of people who are not even in control of their responses at this point, even, let alone once they get more. And then if they get the 4 boosters that do all the 4 proteins that will upload the operation system complete to have the 5G turn on and let everybody be, in their situation. But I just saw something, I know you have a military background. I come from military. My son is also a Ranger, and they're trying to do a thing in July or June to make it mandatory for the military to do this. And there's apparently a lot of pressure on it, which, that would be kind of smart, I guess, to, number one, not get them, to wipe out the military, the people who are supposed to be, quote, protecting us, but also to have them under control of this AI nanotechnology, for them to be sitting behind their computer and to say, go do this. And they'd be like, okay, we'll do that. And that's scary to me. That's super scary to me. What do you have to say about any of that?
Well, first of all, I'm going to clarify. I don't have a military background.
Oh, I thought you were Air Force.
It's an assumption. My career ended before it even got started when I was in that process. But I think because it was back in 2010 or something like that, a friend of mine who was Air Force, he lived beside me when I lived in Vegas. He invited me out with some Marines were coming in that day, and they were going to be shooting the new Belgian Scars. He said, you're going to love this. You want to, because he knows I'm, obviously major pro-military, come from a military family. So I went out there, and they gave me, some camo gear and, just military gear to put on. So we're out there in the desert shooting Scars. And of course I've got experience in, these kind of weapons. But so I think because I put that picture on Facebook 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 10 years ago, it's been there 10 years. I'm not one of those people that, I don't photo bomb Facebook with, here's me, here's Scott, look at me, here's me eating something, here's me smiling, here's me holding a rat. I just never did that. Put something up there, it stays up there forever. So I think when people saw that, they just assumed that. But because I know a lot about the military, probably assumed that. But I love that picture because that showed me when I had more hair and I was in better shape. I can't let it go. So anyways, but that assumption's common. I've been accused of stolen valor from all these idiots that say stupid shit because I can't focus on the mission. That's like fighting the enemy. But so just to clarify that once again, as I do very often, but I'm not going to take that picture down. I want to be one of those guys. They're my heroes. I want to pretend I'm one of them. Anyways, so look, I don't have a good answer for the vaccine thing. I pretty much have an answer, or a perspective, I should say, on most any subject that there is. That one is the one that still perplexes me. Anybody who's going to take a vaccine, look, what do you say about these people that are rushing to get a vaccine? God love them. God help them. I don't know. I don't know. This is how mankind got to this point in the first place, because people think that somebody's in a position of authority. They just make a command and they're supposed to follow it. There's one commander. That's God. Period. End of story. There's no other commander. And that commander gives us commandments that we shall follow if we want to have a happy, fruitful, spiritually ascending life. But we have free will, free choice. We do whatever we want to do. We do it. We choose to do good, to do bad, to do right, to do wrong, to jump, not to jump. We do, the human being. So how in the hell can we resell people on the fact that that's what our Creator intended us to operate as human beings, free people that now had free will to use our own mind or to not use it? And we have a world full, more or less a nation full, because the rest of the world are up in arms, citizens of the world, like, what in the hell is wrong with the American people? Well, they clearly see the election was stolen from Trump. They clearly see that these are psychopaths that are in power, not just here in the United States, worldwide, the global power structure. These people are all psychopaths. And so they're looking at us to be the answer. And they're wondering, how can we possibly be this stupid that we're going to let them put something into our body, a vaccine that's not gone through any of the normal FDA regulatory requirements of anything else out there? And people are dying all over the place. As best that the media can keep that from coming out, it's everywhere. Hank Aaron, beat Babe Ruth's record, get down through the list. Something that has the death rate, a lower death rate than the common flu. We can talk about this all day. We don't need to. We've been over this a million times. So what do you do with these people that refuse to wake up? And they say, it's Trump's fault. Why is Trump saying this? Look, if Trump doesn't say, there's a lot of people out there that believe that their only hope is a vaccine. If Trump was saying, we're not going to have a vaccine for this and this reason, because it's going to take years, they attack Trump. Or because it's unsafe, they attack Trump. No matter what Trump would do, they're going to attack him. So what does Trump have to do? Give them what they want. Give them a vaccine. If these guys over here say they can produce a vaccine, turn them loose. All those people that say, I want a vaccine, is the same people saying, I want to live under tyranny. I want to be taken care of. What do? Let them have what they want. There comes a time when we have to take personal responsibility. I have somebody in my family that took the vaccine. What do I say to that? Your choice. Whatever the consequences are, you chose. When everybody around and everybody that knows me knows what I do, and I do my homework, and I have for decades. If you're still going to take the advice of somebody you've never met from a criminal empire, then that's why God gave us free choice. It's like David Rodriguez. I made the mistake of saying this once to him about these people. He uses it all the time. I'm half afraid to. He goes, we got to get these people out of the gene pool before they breed again. And I'm not blaming that on him. I take full responsibility, but I'm like, yeah, if David can say it, I'll use that joke too. But look, what people are at the end of the day, it's like I've been saying this for weeks now or months. Everything that goes bad, they blame it on God or Jesus. They wanted this to happen. Talk about a shuck of responsibility, right? No, you didn't fork this up. You didn't do bad things in life karma-wise. You just said, God picked me out to rain down hell on my life because I deserve it. And God did this for a good reason, of course, which is insanity. It's in itself. Everybody's sitting around waiting for Jesus to drop on the planet and say, okay, you guys have learned nothing. You've gotten worse and worse and worse over 2,000 years. So I'm going to step in and fix it. That doesn't earn your way into spiritual ascension or heaven. Christ never left the planet. Christ consciousness is still on the planet. What are we doing with it? Ignoring it. That's what people do. You just ignore it. You know, the Christ consciousness is alive and it is rising, but I just get sick of people not taking responsibility and blaming all this stuff on somebody else. So just like to blame it on, why they keep saying to me, why is Donald Trump promoting vaccine? He's giving you what you all want, but he's also giving you an out. But it's a free country. You know, people have a choice to do what they want to do. Reminding them, you have a choice. If you're doing your research, you know better. If you have discernment, you know better. And if you refuse to look at the landscape in front of you and make a determination as a thinking human, that's on you. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the thing about the responsibility piece, because you mentioned working with a lot of pastors. I work with a lot of spiritual people too, in churches and pastors, and you know that seems to be a common response. You know, I'll make a post about something and people are like, well, we're just praying for, you know, we're praying and we're just waiting on God, and you know, whatever. And I get prayer. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't power in it. Also, we're commissioners here. We're sent.
The Bible says faith without works is dead.
Yes.
Faith without works is dead.
And
Christianity is an action plan.
Yes.
It's an action plan.
Walking it out with God is in the very cells of every one of us when we're awake to it, and to actually put legs to it and take dominion instead of just letting everyone else take over and us go, oh, I say a lot, love looks like a lot of things. And because people will go like, well, but love your neighbor. It's like, well, when your neighbor is a pedophile and your neighbor wants to kill everybody, then you have to do something about it. And that's what love looks like, is justice and taking dominion and standing your ground and maintaining that ground of justice, truth, love for all. And, you know, I don't know, because if we don't do something, we're seriously, where will we go? Like, honestly, where is there to go? There's not anywhere to go. So it's a matter of stepping in and taking dominion, standing up for the cause of right now. We're here anyway. We're sent here for a reason, to commission to take over, to be Christ consciousness here, or we just take a back seat and someone else takes over. I mean, I don't like that idea, especially if it's not about love or truth or respect or anything. You know, if they were like, hey, you know what, you do your thing, we'll be over here doing our thing. But you know, that's not how it is. They don't want us to do our thing.
Yep. All in all, that's how they sold people on sitting around waiting for Christ to come back and save us. That's the Luciferian order that created that mindset of the Bible. Those are the ones that did a lot of the rewritings of the Bible. And when they retranslate, because they edited out a number of things that brought down the power or the full message of Christ's philosophy down to probably 70%. If you look at it from a calibrated kinesiological standpoint, it's been done by Dr. David Hawkins, MD, PhD, in the quantum physics realm. So therefore, if they stripped out some of the most important things, why and what were they? And those things were basically the action plan, in my opinion. These are my words only, my opinions, but an action plan. You know, Christ had an action plan. He went out among the people. Christ, when he wanted to kick some ass, he went in the temple and he beat some asses, you know, tossed people out. Christ acted. He didn't sit around and wait for God to show up. He went out there. He got on a playing field and he got busy trying to rescue humanity. So anybody that sits around, you know, using their Bible, I just don't allow people off the hook anymore. I don't allow them to use Jesus or the Bible as an excuse to allow the world to descend in a pit of hell. Great. If that's your philosophy, go sit in the corner, because there's a child right now being brutally sodomized while they're being strangled with a rope at the same time and being cut and burned. And the torture mechanism kicked in and bloodletted so they can drain them out and get the adrenochrome. While you're doing that bullshit of nothing and using that as a crutch, some of us out here are going out to spread the word to the world that the leadership order of the planet are a bunch of forking psychopaths, and somebody's got to come up against them. to bring it down. We outnumber these people by the billions. And when people have the balls to come out and start saying enough is enough, and they get a Christian action plan, like we're going to go slay Satan himself, great, we'll welcome you, but we're not going to wait anymore for people. And we're not worried about your sensitivities, or people know political correctness gets no traction with me on any level at all. I'm a nice guy. That's why most people are stunned, like, what the hell happened to Scott? Well, what happens, I finally figured it out. Mr. Nice Guy, he's parked on the bench until this war's over, and he's staying there. This Scott McKay is the Scott McKay the world has to see, and hopefully inspire people to come out and fight, and we take down the satanic order, and we usher in peace and we save the children. Then this guy come off the bench. I'll put my battle gear in the trunk, and I'm going to sit down, and we're going to do kumbaya, get back to loving the world again.
Well, speaking of, just this whole realm of timing and, biblical stuff, and, just in the Bible, they looked at the stars, and this is new for me, to be honest. Laura Eisenhower, this is like completely her bag, this astrology thing. But I've been talking to several on a science level, because I am a geek when it comes to like science and looking at things like that. And everyone kind of seems to say that the last time that all the stars were exactly like they are right now was 1776. And that's kind of interesting to me for number one. But secondly, someone sent me a video yesterday of a chick who has been following Donald Trump since 2016. She's not even like a Trump lover or any kind of politician or any kind of this side or that side. She's just straight like giving you information. And she was actually surprised doing this video, but she did his chart, or help me, people who know what they're talking about. Like, I hope I say this right, but did his chart, looked at where we are now and where he is. And she was actually surprised because according to her, that he's definitely not finished, that he's not going anywhere. And what she saw is starting March 26th, which I don't like to give numbers, but I'm just repeating information of what she said, that something kind of big was going to happen. She said that something about the rising of Leo. She said 3 planets were in this house, which house, the 10th house, has to do with work, government, that kind of thing. And there was 3 planets in this house. One was Jupiter, one was Mars, and I choose to remember the other one. I think, I don't remember. But each one she explained, and Jupiter amplifies. And to have three planets in a single
so basically
house.
There's astrology you're talking about. You'll confuse me. I hear it, but I don't understand it. But yeah. I can tell you my belief on all that. There's a perfect working order to the universe. There are no mistakes. Our creators made no accidents. There's a perfect working order. A lot of that working order has been stripped away from us. Astrological charts, astronomy, the way things line up. People take the easy way out and call things new age. Here's a simple fact. All truth comes from God. If you can show distinct patterns over millennia of the alignment of the planets, the movement of the solar system with certain events and different things, that cataclysmic events in a 25,000 year cycle that happens, every 25,000 years, you have these cataclysmic events. It destroys a planet, all these things. Then you have to say these correlate to something. There's only one creator, but I just think that the powers that be over the years, the Luciferian order, the satanic order, again, got control of the education system way back then, took away our compass and said, just take it on faith, just take it on faith, just take it on faith. Right. So they've used that forever. Take the vaccine on faith, take this on faith. Once again, faith without works is dead. You got to do your own due diligence. You have to, we have a working mind for a reason. If we were meant to be autonomous robots and obedient to our creator, God wouldn't have given us a mind, and we wouldn't have to go through many experiences to ascend spiritually, to try to get closer and closer to our creator. It's just people just refused. And Earl Nightingale said this 100 years ago or less. He was asked, what's man's greatest problem? And without missing a beat, said, man simply refuses to think. What's man's greatest problem? Man simply refuses to think. And if that doesn't summarize all of it on how we ended up where we are and what we've done to ourselves, there's nothing else that will. People refuse to think, to use the gifts that God gave us to help us with a compass I like Ayn Rand, how Ayn Rand says it. And she's an atheist, right? She says man's only moral purpose is his own happiness. I agree 100%. I actually talked to an ordained minister, Southern Baptist minister. He actually married me when I was once married. And I called him up. He's a behavioral scientist, and I was trained by him. And I told him the problems I had with her philosophy. It fits me perfectly. But she's an atheist. He said, why should that bother you? I said, she's an atheist. He says, Scott, all truth comes from God. Doesn't matter who says it. All truth comes from God. And I was like, wow. So anyways, with that being said, at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own happiness. And unfortunately, for those who don't get this, our own happiness is also an action plan. Our happiness will come from operating at a higher vibrational frequency, a higher level of spiritual consciousness, which is why we're here, and trying to move closer and closer to our source, where we come from, our creator, our God, however people want to categorize God. That's the only thing that'll truly make us happy, is moving in that direction, until we can get, to the ultimate fold in. So all the other things that people think makes them happy, we have misery on the planet because we've been sold that this commercial matrix that we live in, that happiness comes from working our asses off in a machine that they built to give us peanuts in return while they make massive, unbelievable profits. And we use that to go out and buy shit that they have us working to build in the matrix, whereby they pay a few peanuts to get it done, and they make massive, unbelievable profits.
And then we pay taxes on that.
Yeah, we're in this closed loop of just constant work and draining of us of our work, and constant draining of our work. Commercial, consumerism. I've watched it in Los Angeles for decades. Everybody's in the hunt. Their identity is built on how big they build their lifestyle, how much they show the public, because they worked really well in this matrix. Great. Capitalistic society. I love that too. I love winners. But at the end of the day, take all that shit away. Take it all away. See what happens. How much happiness do you see? You have depression. You have wives that leave their husbands because they can no longer funnel them with cash and a big lifestyle. I've seen it so many times. You got to pull them out of the schools, nice schools. Take away everything from somebody. Let's see what happens, right? They're devastated because they base their happiness on that model. I've been there. I was never that person. I was always in a pursuit of success, but it never defined me. And I lost everything I own. I lost my physical capability. I ended up in a wrecked hull of a body, paralysis, completely physically destroyed. I ended up homeless, crippled, and penniless within 8 months of a catastrophic crash, lost my company, lost everything. And there were factors inside of that 8 months that were trying to bury me, that I had to move away from. I lost it all. I've never been happier in my life, because once you readjust to the world and you realize that I'm defined by my actions, I'm defined by what I do, I'm defined by my philosophy, which my philosophy was, I don't care what they tell me, that I'm not going to be normal again, that I'm not going to be normal again. 95% of the people with the gravity of these injuries, this is just the way it is. You have to accept that. 4 years later, I knocked on a door of the top professor at Columbia University Medical School, Dr. Frank LaVaglia. He was on the scene that day when I laid this Harley Davidson into the side of a van at 50 miles an hour and, put me in a grave. I bounced back. Somehow I started breathing after I faded to black again. My lungs kicked on. And, I was aware of that. I had that experience. I knew I was dying, and you reconcile that and you prepare yourself and everything's good and I'm ready. And then boom, you pop back in the game. So I had this nightmare. So I went to work for the next 4, many years. I mean, I'm still doing it today, 7 years later, but I walked up to his door, knocked on his door 4 years later. And he and his wife were completely floored. Like, never thought we'd see you upright again, let alone walking. This is unbelievable. So I thought, that's what's going to define me. Like, I'm going to do something that I will illustrate the power of human consciousness to, rework the neural networks in my brain to, build new pathways of response, or, for my left side, which where the paralysis was, all that stuff. And you saw me. You didn't notice any of that. You probably saw me limping a little bit because my left ankle was bothering me that day. But for the most part, that's what defines us. It's not what you have. It's what you're willing to do with your life, and I thought this will serve my creator. I was in a rehab hospital laying there, trapped in this wrecked hall you can't get out of, pain beyond comprehension. I made a decision. I'm going to turn this into an asset. I don't know how, but I'm going to. And then I'm going to share it with people to help them understand this is who you really are. This is what God made us to be. It's a power of the mind and human consciousness. And that's, and I lived in abject poverty for many, many years. Like I refused to go on disability. I damn near starved. I was on an EBT card for $192 a month. That's all I had. And a good friend of mine basically said, 2 of them actually. One took me in for a couple months, and then I made my trip to the West Coast back there, and a friend took me in, a gentleman that's in his 70s, and it's like, you're not going anywhere. You got a free room here. You got a bathroom. You're going to get your life back. And I had a place to call home while I just went to war for years to bring all this back. But that's what makes you happy, finding out who you really are and why you're here. It's not working in this matrix, buying a bunch of shit, trying to show everybody how really truly you matter and important you are. You matter to the person that you're married to. You matter to your kids. You matter to your friends. You matter to your creator. Outside of that, nothing else matters. Just being happy. And anyways, I got to jump. I got another one coming up in 3 minutes. So it was a pleasure to get a chance to see you again. We had a great time in Las Vegas.
I know everyone is encouraged. I'm so encouraged to hear about literally the Street Fighter that you not only have as a label, but you live out. You are living it out truly. And we're going to have you back with David Rodriguez. We're going to work on that for next week or whenever he can get back. But I know you do have to jump. And I'm so thankful for your time today and just hearing your story and all your ideas and your courage. And I know everyone else definitely, where can we find you? Like give all your information so people can go to your Telegram and all that. I'm going to put some links up, but don't you have a weekly show or nightly, say all that, explain where you are.
Yeah, I do this broadcast I do on YouTube. It's Patriot Streetfighter 7. Unfortunately, it's in jail today. So Patriot Streetfighter 8, you may have to look at for it, but if people connect with me on Telegram, if they want to connect with me, just go to Twitter at Scott McKay. It's at SA McKay. So it's at SA McKay 3. Okay. That's me. And I drop where I'm, every day when I have a show at 7 Eastern time, a live stream, it gets up there. Telegram's the best way. My Telegram. And again, if you go to any of the videos, you can go to Patriot Streetfighter 7 right now, and you'll see in any video I do there's links there how to connect with me. Website, scottmckay.us. If you want some of these fun shirts that we make, this is a Patriot Streetfighter, logo. This shirt happened to be me looking in a camera one day. We were talking about the mask, and I was just like, I did one of these, like, and so Ron snapped it he snapped a picture of it and put it on here. And it's like, so you voted for Trump and you're still wearing a mask. He has one that has a thought bubble over here. It says, you got to be shitting me. So we put this stuff on t-shirts, and that's what fuels our revolution here. And the big seller, if you go to scottmckay.us, by the way, that's easy. scottmckay.us. That's where the shop is there. Click that on. The shirt that we blanket the planet with is the kids building spelling blocks, and it spells out "Save the Kids." And now on the back of it, they're putting like, what are the tunnels, with like this foggy view of the end of a tunnel, or we're now having gene decodes map put on there. Here's all the kid trafficking tunnels around the country. We're bringing this awareness to people to help them understand that the 800,000 kids are being fed to the satanic dragon every single year, and 3 million worldwide. So that's kind of that's how you can find me. You can find me, like I said, on YouTube. Today we're going to be live streaming here in a few minutes, but scottmckay.us will get you to the main website. And if you just go to Patriot Streetfighter 7, and Street Fighter is one word, by the way, Patriot Streetfighter, and then a 7 or 8, those will get you on one of the channels. So it was a pleasure to see you today, Doc.
Yeah.
Again,
yes.
and we'll be back on when we're ready to do a show with
David,
with Big Nino,
the other fighter. So yes, you guys go to swiftfire.org if you could please, and get on the newsletter and see where we're at. I'm also on Twitter as well, Dr. Sharnael, and I have several interviews set up. I'm back and we are running, and hopefully keep going with this. And just go to swiftfire.org and grab the newsletter, and I will keep you posted there on who's coming up and what we're doing and what times and what days. All right. Thanks again, Scott. Talk to you guys soon. Y'all have a great Friday, and over and out. All right.
Bye-bye. Have a great day. See you, honey.